Rachel Ricketts, and I'm a grief and wellness coach. I definitely knew that my purpose was something more than just pushing paper all day. I was exploring different elements of my passions, creative outlets and stuff, but at the same time I was working 16 to 18-hour days, so honestly there was very little time. But I knew there was something more, I just wasn't sure what it was, and I didn't really have the energy or capacity to explore it. It all came to a head really after the large law firm that I was at went under, and then I moved into a smaller law firm, and I was there for maybe 6 months. My mother, who had MS from the time I was 13 years old, would call frequently throughout the day. Things would be going on, there'd be emergencies and so on and so forth. So she called me, I can't even remember the context of the discussion, but something awful had happened. I had a conversation with her about it, and then I hung up the phone and kind of disconnected and went back to doing my job, which is what I was used to doing. But I stood up and turned around, and this other lawyer was there, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Not at all, not at all, no." And I promptly realized, A, I was totally burnt out physically, mentally, so I ended up quitting without any job to go to. I just knew that I couldn't do this private practice. The plan was to take time to rest, but I was really bad at rest. I kind of just ran around like a chicken with my head cut off. I didn't really know what I was doing. And then 3 weeks into, after I had left, I got in a car accident. And I sat on the side of the road, half laughing, half crying, because I was like, and the universe was just like, okay, well, if you're not gonna fucking rest, like, we're gonna make you rest. My mom got really sick. She'd been sick my whole life, but in her death, I was grieving the loss of her, but also all these other losses that had happened along the way, including the car accident, including quitting my job, including losing the job that I had and thought I was gonna be at for a long time. At the time was really quite awful. And because we don't have places and we don't talk about this. We live in a culture where we're all on Instagram all the time, everything's fucking happy and smiling and we're selfieing and everything's good, but that's not life. None of us have a life like that. And so where are spaces where we're seeing the other side of life, which is an important piece. I felt like that was missing. So I just wanted to create a space for that. And I don't really know, I feel like it was just a download, like you can coach folks through grief. I had a moment where I was like, do I have to go back to school? Oh my God, I've been so much fucking school. I don't want to go back. Do I have to get a master's in counseling? I have a BA in psychology, but, and then I thought, no, there's other ways I can do it that's more me. So what I do as an intuitive grief coach is like spiritual advising, peer support, and I'm allowed to offer services that are outside the realm of construct of just traditional therapy or counseling, which I want to help folks through life, because I think grief is just a natural, inherent part of life. We're taught at a young age to disconnect, especially as women. Like, oh, you're being emotional, or you're being crazy, and then you learn to not trust your feelings. Loss&found has many different services, so again, kind of like my educational background, there's a lot going on, but when it comes to a one-on-one coaching session, or even in workshops or events with folks, again, it does depend, it always differs from person to person, but the number one thing that I always promote with everybody is presence and mindfulness and practices that we can utilize that allow us to get back into our heart space, into our gut. I help people who've dealt with death, but I also help tons of people who are dealing with job stress, burnout, infertility, financial issues, moving, abandonment, loss of self or identity, trust, divorce, miscarriage, you name it. We're all burnt out, just like, it's not if, it's like where on the spectrum of burnout are you? And it can be too much. You know, if you don't start to deal with stuff, when all of it starts to land at your door, it can end up being too much, and some people don't survive it. A really great piece of advice I received was actually when I was in the days of trying to figure out, you know, what my purpose was and what I wanted to be doing, and I knew that law wasn't it, and it was like kind of taking my soul, just trying to figure it out, and someone said, don't start a business because you want to, start a business because you have to, meaning you have this thing that you need to bring to the world and no one else is doing it and you have to bring it to the forefront. That's when you know. And that's exactly what happened when it came to loss&found. It was like, I don't know how this is gonna work or how this is gonna go. I don't know how I'm gonna make money at this. Like, I had no clue. I just knew I had to bring this to the world. It needed to be out there because it's something that I had needed, and I know if I needed it, then somebody else on this planet needed it as well. So that was some of the most phenomenal advice I've received.